Always gotta stay hydrated. Drink your water. Dear Game Freak, thank you for Pokemon. Thank you for all the fun gimmicks. Thank you for the masterful world you have crafted. But also, dear Game Freak, you can't bring back Mega Evolutions. Ever. I'm sorry. Let me tell you why. Now, starting back in Pokemon X and Y, which personally is my second favorite generation. I absolutely love Diamond, Pearl, Platinum. And X and Y was the generation that really brought me back into the game. And one of the things that really grabbed my attention at the time was Mega Evolutions. I personally love Mega Evolutions. From a gameplay perspective, they're really cool. From an artistic perspective, great designs. Mega Evolutions felt very weighty and very powerful, and they allowed you to take some of your favorite Pokemon who typically wouldn't be all that good later in a playthrough and let them challenge a god with its power. However, despite how cool they look and how fun they were to use in battle, they can never make a reappearance. Not for anything that it did to the competitive scene, or personal gameplay reasons, or really for story plot in the games. But for moral reasons, we can never bring back a Mega Evolution in any form. Now, while Mega Evolutions were very powerful, there's a good comparison to make to the dark side of the Force in Star Wars. Mega Evolutions are insanely powerful. When we see someone as a long-time dark side user, it physically deforms them. It makes them less human the longer they do it. And Mega Evolutions seem to have a very similar awful consequence, let's call it, on the Pokemon that they get used on. And now you're probably looking at me like, Gray, what do you mean? How dangerous could it possibly be? How could it be morally bad? And to that I say, one, how'd you get in my house? Please get out, and I'll tell you. I think a perfect place to start is with one of my favorite Pokemon, and from one of my favorite generations, Garchomp. He is Cynthia's crown child, and I think a great example of how Mega Evolutions are just evil incarnate to do to these Pokemon. So, surprising to nobody, all the information that I will be using in order to prove Mega Evolutions are morally wrong is going to come from the same source of information that every single Pokemon trainer keeps in their pockets, and their entire quest is to fill it out. That's right, the Pokedex. It's full of a lot of dark stuff, but today we're just looking at Mega Evolutions. Our first example of the horror of Mega Evolutions in the Pokedex, specifically if you look at the Pokedex entry in Ultra Sun for Mega Garchomp, we get something really sad. It says, word for word, excess energy melted its arms and wings, transforming them into giant sides. Now, think about that for a second. It says excess energy melted them together. This wasn't just a pseudo-magical transformation. This wasn't a change of state like most Pokemon evolutions are. It says it was melted, which means heat was applied until things turned to liquid. And what things would have to turn to liquid in order to make your arms size? Primarily your bones. Now, we can assume that Garchomp's bones are made up of a lot of calcium, just like the bones of pretty much everything else here on Earth as we know it. And if that's the case, in order for his bones to melt into something new, we need to bring the calcium in his bones to 845 degrees Celsius. That is twice as hot as an industrial-grade steel furnace. We know Pokemon are insanely strong. We know Garchomp is a pseudo-legendary. And apparently this over 800 degrees Celsius going on inside of him, melting his body together, causes him unimaginable pain. From the same game, or no, not the same game, from Pokemon Ultra Moon, it instead says, its vaunted wings become scythes, sending it mad with rage. It swings its scythes wildly and slices the ground to pieces. This is a Pokemon that is overcome by rage and pain to the point where it is wildly lashing out at the air and the ground around it. And I don't blame it. Being 800 degrees on the inside, I'd feel pretty awful too and want to kill something. When you think about it, on top of the intense temperature increase that's melting its bones, that is way, way hotter than the necessary temperature needed to inflict brain damage on pretty much any living being as well. So, Garchomp is not only in physical pain, but also most likely suffering severe brain death every single time you are forcing him to go through a Mega Evolution. So that's pretty awful. Alright, but now you might be saying, look, yeah, Garchomp is in pain, but, that's just one example of a powerful Pokemon being overloaded with too much power. Mega Evolutions can't be that bad for the average Pokemon, or even for another Pokemon of high power. Let's now look at another pseudo-legendary who is in lore more powerful than Garchomp and also seems to be better at containing the sheer amount of power that is within itself. Tyranitar. In canon and in its Pokedex descriptions, Tyranitar is said to be able to raise entire mountains to the ground. That is an absurd amount of energy, even for some legendary Pokemon. That is a feat of strength. So, this is a very powerful pseudo-legendary that should not be messed with. In fact, it's so overflowing with this Poke power that it can not only bury mountains on its own, it can also bury rivers on its own, which is in itself another insanely impressive feat. So this Pokemon can reshape maps on its own just on a lazy Thursday afternoon. So there's something a little different going on here with Tyranitar. What would happen if we pumped him full of that Mega Juice too? Well, we can look at the entry in, again, Ultra Sun. It's not good. It is stated in Pokemon Ultra Sun that due to the colossal power poured into it, this Pokemon's back split right open. Its destructive instincts are the only thing keeping it moving. Let's look at that again. The Pokemon's back split open with the sheer power trying to be contained inside of it, and now the only thing driving it is its destructive rage. That's rough. This is a Pokemon that, by itself, could challenge a god. And now it is overflowed with so much power that its body is tearing itself apart, and the only thing keeping it moving is its will to destroy. That's no longer a Pokemon, that's an angry god. And you did it all to win a selfish little trainer battle. Good job. We can continue to look at its, instead of Ultra Sun entry, we can look at its Ultra Moon entry. And it's not much better. It says the effect of Mega Evolutions make Tyranitar more ferocious than ever, and it's unclear whether or not it can even hear its trainer's orders. So not only are you splitting this thing open and putting it in unimaginable pain, you're also clouding its judgment to the point where its bloodlust is probably the only thing it can even perceive, and it will no longer listen to you, the trainer who has put time and love and care into it. Okay, so now you're probably looking at me and you're like, Gray, this is just what happens when you pour too much power into a Pokemon that already had a lot of power. But if we pour this into something more simple, more common, there's no way it's going to cause this level of destruction. There's no way it's going to cause this level of harm, whether it be to the Pokemon or the world around it. You'd be very wrong for thinking that. But, that's a fair point. We should look at more common Pokemon. And what's more common than something like a fire doggy from Gen 2, Houndour, who evolves into Houndoom. Now, Houndour is one of the breeds of dog-type Pokemon that we tend to meet early on in the series. And this is a group of Pokemon that we know are very, very common to be household pets. A lot of children in the Pokemon universe get a Houndour, a Poochyena, a whatever the corgi is, the electric corgi. A lot of children seem to get these dog-type Pokemon as a pet, not just as a Pokemon to train, but just as a companion through childhood. And Houndour evolves into Houndoom, who also has a Mega Evolution. So the possibility of seeing a Mega Evolution seeing a Mega Houndoom would probably be one of the more common ones for your average person, considering dog Pokemon are a lot more common amongst the average person. So, Houndoom is a Pokemon that is biologically specialized to contain an internal furnace of toxic fire. Not only is it regular fire, this fire also has its own special toxins put into it that make burns last forever. Your burn will never heal. Once you get touched by Houndoom's flames, you're done. You will survive, maybe, if you're lucky, but that pain will forever be there. For the rest of your life, it'll feel like wherever you got burned is still being touched by those flames. And that is a miserable existence. But you must think, this Pokemon is designed by evolution, is designed by nature to be the perfect environment for this flame. It is a natural product of its own body. Therefore, it's protected against it. Until you Mega Evolve, it's stated that Mega Houndoom, its red claws and tip of its tail are melting from high internal temperatures that are painful to Houndoom itself. This poor dog is going through such internal body temperatures that it's causing external components of its body to melt. That's horrifying. Garchomp was going bone melting at 845 degrees Celsius. Houndoom is going external body melting from something that was already made to keep an internal raging furnace. That's a lot of heat. I can't even calculate out how much heat this would be, mainly because we don't have a heat behind Houndour's flames that I could find, but that's besides the point. Let's move on from this puppy Pokemon that is designed to be one of the worst furnaces in all of existence that is now unable to control its own fire due to Mega Evolutions. That is now 3 Pokemon who are in unimaginable and constant pain when Mega Evolved, and it's not their fault. We are the ones pushing their biology way past whatever it should be, yet we keep doing it. So let's keep moving on then, huh? Let's choose something a little bit more common. I've picked pseudo-legendaries, I've picked poison fire dogs. Let's get something close to a real-life animal. I think an amazing example of that would be Sharpedo. Now, this is kind of just a half shark. However, it is not stated to have very many aspects of it that are different from a shark we know. The main thing is this thing can swim as fast as a speedboat. Beyond that, it's basically just a shark that got cut in half. It's not very different from a shark on Earth. So, what happens when it Mega Evolves? This fast shark is a lot of the times in the Pokemon universe referred to as the bully of the sea. It likes to get into fights with members of its own species. It likes to fight basically anything it can find in the water that is too small for it to just eat right away. And living this kind of lifestyle, you would imagine it gets quite beat up. Just like, an angry shark would. It gets, battle scars over the course of its life, and Sharpedo would be even more so because we're in the wacky world of Pokemon where every fish has toxins and spikes and fire, And one of the nice things about being a living creature is, our injuries heal. They scar over, they heal up fully, and we continue to live another day. Imagine how bad it would be if every single injury you ever had in your entire life, if you were hit by the pain of each of those coming back all at once, every cut, every bruise, every burn, every scar, all of those, every ounce of that pain, all hitting you at once like the wounds were being reopened. That's exactly what happens to Sharpedo when he Mega Evolves. It's stated in Pokemon Ultra Sun, again Ultra Sun, you need to calm down. You need to calm down, Ultra Sun. It's stated that the yellow patterns on Sharpedo, which are known to be its battle scars, the energy from Mega Evolution runs through these scars and makes them feel as if they are fresh wounds again. It is said specifically that this causes Sharpedo sharp pain and suffering. Now, anything that can consistently put the most hyper-aggressive shark in the ocean into a state of constant pain and agony is something to be scared of. And that's just what we do to it, for fun, while fighting each other. You're starting to see why, for moral reasons, we should never touch Mega Evolutions ever again, both from a world perspective in lore, and also from a moral perspective out of lore. There's very few things you could do to a Pokemon that are nearly this cruel. That is viewed as completely fine by the average, not just person in the public in the Pokemon universe, but also fans outside of the universe with the context of what we're actually putting these creatures through. If anything, you're left with one final argument against all this. There are some Pokemon in canon that seem to very, very much enjoy being Mega Evolved. There are a lot that are hurt, but there are a few that seem to be really, really happy when they're Mega Evolved, like they're finally in their true form, in a sense. And I have a response for that. Those Pokemon that tend to be the happiest when Mega Evolved are also ones that tend to be very near the bottom of the food chain. Imagine if you spent your entire life as prey, and then one day you were filled with enough energy to fight God one-on-one, and instead of getting to use that energy however you want, getting to explore the world, getting to fight for the food you want, getting to set a new nest, anything you wanted to do with this new power that you had acquired, no longer being afraid of apex predators, is instead being completely controlled by a human trainer behind you telling you what to do the whole time, and you're only Mega Evolved for a few moments in the heat of battle. You are never allowed to just be Mega Evolved out in the wild for a continuous period of time, enjoying it. So, would you want to have a taste of genuine freedom and genuine power only be limited to whenever somebody else feels like it for their own personal gain for minutes at a time? That doesn't sound like a reward. That sounds like you're being used as a tool. And yes, all Pokemon are being used as tools, but this feels like an extra cruel way to do that. And we'll take a look at two famous bug boys for this example. We got Pincer and we got Heracross. Two insect-type Pokemon that, in the grand scheme of things, pretty low on the food chain, but both really, really enjoy and seem to benefit from Mega Evolution, unlike most other Pokemon. Let's look at Pincer's Mega Evolution entry. After Mega Evolution, Pincer gains the ability to fly. It grows stronger wings and is able to fly extremely quickly around. And it seems to very, very much enjoy this. It's stated that it doesn't even touch the ground while it has its wings. So it's obviously really, really happy. However, then you realize the only time this Pokemon will ever get to fly is when you're commanding it to fly in battle. And that's sad. Imagine only ever getting to do the thing you love most whenever it can be used to hurt someone, and never on your terms. That's awful. Even from the perspective of a Pokemon who is used to being in this situation by the trainer, being forced to only experience your greatest joy whenever in the heat of battle seems beyond cruel. And we can also now take a look at Heracross's Pokedex entry. You can guess, oh wait, this one's not actually from Ultra Sun. It's from Ultra Moon. Crazy. A tremendous energy influx builds up. But when the Mega Evolution ends, Heracross is bothered by terrible soreness in its muscles. We can see that Heracross turns into just a Chad bug and absolutely love. You know what? He goes beyond Chad. He becomes a Sigma bug and has insane strength and insane energy during the heat of battle. However, it is then immediately followed up by the fact that the moment Mega Evolution energy leaves his body. He is left drained and sore. And I can only imagine that any Pokemon that goes through the process of Mega Evolution would feel like this. It's the same thing as being tired, drinking a shit ton of caffeine, going on a whole binge, and then afterwards you're way more tired than you were at the start because the caffeine wasn't real energy. And that's kind of exactly what we're doing to these Mega Evolved Pokemon. We're putting more energy than they can handle into them. Then we are forcing them to expend energy like they have never done before, especially when we bring into account things like Z moves. So we're forcing them to use their bodies in ways their bodies were never meant to be used for our own personal gain whenever we want. And that must be tearing them apart internally, both physically and mentally, because we know Pokemon are emotionally intelligent. We know Pokemon love and grow bonds and can think just like people can, even if they can't communicate it as well as people can. So we can see that even when a Pokemon really, really enjoys Mega Evolution, it has physical and psychological repercussions afterwards, and that this isn't a nice thing to be doing to these Pokemon. We are putting them through the most painful experiences imaginable for possibly the most selfish reasons imaginable. Think about how many times you Mega Evolved just fighting a person on your way to another town for a couple Poké Dollars. You were willing to melt an animal's bones and tell it to fight for you just to get $120 from little Timmy. And I mean, even when you take it up to a gyms or the Elite Four, you are melting animals' bones, you are giving them freedom and then ripping it away from them, all to have a title, all for a badge. It's not okay. It's not worth it. And while you can debate the morality of Pokemon in general, at least it is, at its core, just regular animals in this world, whatever a regular animal is, fighting another animal in nature. But when you bring Mega Evolutions into it, it's like you're forcing a supernatural steroid into them for no benefit but the humans. And I think that's probably the real horror of Mega Evolutions, is that they are the ultimate example of humans impressing their own wills and wants into the Pokemon that surround them in this world. That's why, for moral reasons, Game Freak, you can never bring back Mega Evolutions. Sorry. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I'm gonna be stereotypical and ask you to like and subscribe and share, because I really want this to grow a little bit. That'd be really cool. You can also leave a comment if there's anything you think I should do a video about. I have a couple more random things in the pipeline, but I'm not sure what will be out next. I do also have enough to make a part 2 to this with either more Mega Evolutions that are terrible, or for Dynamaxing and where it falls morally, and if it is better, worse, or around the same as Mega Evolutions. So yeah, drink a glass of water, take your meds. See you next time.